Thomas Tuchel is ready to take over Erik Ten Hag's job at Manchester United. That, according to reports coming out from last night and this morning, he is the only option for Manchester United if, and it is a massive if still, because there is a meeting today, as we know, to decide if Ten Hag is actually going to be relieved of his duties as Manchester United manager. Everything else and all the other updates and everything around this, all of the stories surrounding Tuchel and why he's become the favourite again and the only option for Manchester United in this morning's show. Get into the live chat. Let me know what you feel, people. Get talking, get chatting, get your comments in, get involved in the poll. It's a straightforward poll. Let's gauge where this Manchester United fan base actually is right now. Is Thomas Tuchel took the Manchester United job? Would you be happy? Yes or no? It's a simple, straightforward poll. If you are watching this live stream later on and you want to get involved in the poll, just drop your comments in below and tell me, is Tuchel the man, yes or no, for Manchester United at this stage? And I say at this stage because that's quite relevant right now, and everything we're going to talk about this morning is based upon us only being 7 games into the season. It is Forever United TV. I'm Adam. Welcome along to the early morning show, people. Keep watching, keep commenting. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. Get involved. This is our channel, our voice, Manchester United fan base, talking everything Ten Hag, Tuchel, Frank, any other manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Get your thoughts in. Let me know what you feel. I'll get through as many as I possibly can. Let's get into the show, shall we? Where does it all start? Well, to be honest, I'm going to go into something that I've just been told and told late last night, actually, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has already spoken to Ten Hag. Now, I don't know what this means, and I don't know where we go with that from there. There is still a meeting today, and everybody's saying that it will be discussed today. He also told me that he cannot say what was discussed, what was said, or anything like that. He has just met with Ten Hag, and he has spoken to Ten Hag. So Jim has made contact with our current manager, Erik Ten Hag. That's all you need to know on that and what's happening there. You decide what you feel from that point, what's happened, what's been said. We'll start with what James Ducker of The Telegraph is saying, which we knew pretty much yesterday, which was Erik Ten Hag has left for a short holiday, working very much on the basis that he expects to be in charge when Manchester United return to action against Brentford after the international break. More news has come out past that, though, from this good Dave of the Daily Mirror. So first of all, it was The Telegraph, now it's The Mirror. We know what the Times was saying and what the other publications were saying last night. It's pretty much of the same thing, but The Mirror go one step further in saying Thomas Tuchel is favourite to replace Erik Ten Hag. Tuchel is open to becoming Manchester United manager and ready. Ten Hag's fate will be decided today in that board meeting, the directors meeting down in London. We have found that out. That is a definite. Pretty much every journalist working around Manchester United or in the world of football has said exactly the same thing. I've just got another message come through regarding that meeting that Sir Jim has had. Thoughts are that Sir Jim is ruthless and would definitely sack him if he wanted to, even when Ten Hag is on holiday. So, the word from around United is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe does not care if Ten Hag is on holiday, which we've said before. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is ruthless. He's brutal. He has invested billions into Manchester United. He isn't going to sit there and watch his team that he's talked about so much just organise things to a point where his whole mission and his whole vision for Manchester United just drifts away. That's something that will not happen under Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He is that character, he is that brutal, and will pull the plug. Tuchel is the only man available to Manchester United if you want to change Ten Hag. I actually, from the vibes and the stories coming out and everything that's been said now, don't feel like Van Nistelrooy is a choice for Manchester United. Maybe to see out the next few weeks while Tuchel gets finalised. You could see that. That's a possibility, definitely. But going off what has been said, it does not look like Manchester United would make a decision on Ten Hag unless they had an actual first-class replacement in place for him. And the only man available is Thomas Tuchel, because he's the only man on the list that isn't at another football club. We reported yesterday and we was talking yesterday in the shows about how Manchester United would have to go out and really convince a manager who's already in a job right now. Say, for instance, like the Inzaghi stories come up. That's not happening. We know that. But, for instance, Thomas Frank as well. We discussed that yesterday. I pretty much said, look, I just don't see it. I don't see the level of Thomas Frank being there anyway for Manchester United yet. I think there's another step that Thomas Frank could take before coming to Manchester United, and I don't think Ineos would look at him as an option. You have to put him on a par with what Ten Hag is doing right now in terms of manager, I feel, and qualities. I may be doing Ten Hag a disservice there because Ten Hag has won trophies, but obviously if you're at a big club, then you're expected to win trophies, and I think that's what everybody is looking to and looking towards for Ten Hag and saying, look, he has won trophies. Is it enough? If you listen to what Wayne Rooney said yesterday on TalkSport, he says, look, from my time at Manchester United and knowing Manchester United and the history, it's that Manchester United need to be continuously challenging for the Premier League and the Champions League. That's what United are. Cup competitions are good, all good and well, and winning cups, but you cannot rely on cups to just see Manchester United by. It's not what Manchester United are. It's not where they should be. United should be aiming higher than just cup competitions. And the thing, I don't so much think it... You could say it's a dig at Ten Hag because he goes on about the trophies that he's won continuously in all of his press conferences whenever he speaks to the media. But I think Wayne Rooney there, he's just of an age like a lot of United fans are. Look, the levels that were expected of certain players and why these players have such a big voice on punditry and on sports channels now, like Wayne Rooney, Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, for instance, Carragher, all of these characters now, they had levels that you would expect Manchester United to be challenging for at the highest level, at the top table of European football, Premier League, European Cups. That's where they see it, and that's what they have been brought up with. And the fan base that were supporting Manchester United at that time or alive to see Manchester United at that time, because like I said before, the generational fan base which is coming through now is a little bit different, and I understand that. You've got to look at where everybody's at. I mean, for instance, someone could have started watching Manchester United 10 years ago, and that's quite important to remember, I feel. And they look at them standards and say, well, United have won this, we've won that. They've not seen Manchester United or know of. I don't feel, unless you've lived it, you can watch back and listen to what people say about what Manchester United used to be, but unless you've lived it, I think your standards are a lot higher. And that, I feel, is something, again, that Thomas Tuchel has come in and in interviews has said where United should be, how big Manchester United are. He has basically just levelled Manchester United up to a point where Manchester United, if they were looking for a manager, would look to someone who has a certain standard. Now, I'm not saying that Ten Hag hasn't got them standards. Obviously, he would like to be winning more. Obviously, yes. But I feel like he's fallen into the trap that not many other managers have done, because he has won trophies. But I think Ten Hag is just fallen into the trap of everything being constantly changing above him and expectation levels being up and down. And I think he's been lucky as Manchester United manager. I do. I think he really has with the situation as it is. And I feel like if it wasn't Ineos in charge right now, Ten Hag probably wouldn't have a job. And we know this because Louis van Gaal won the FA Cup, finished higher than what Ten Hag did and still got sacked. So if Ineos weren't here and everyone having a go at Ineos for actually stringing Ten Hag along, as it was said or as it was reported through the summer, and saying like this is bad treatment of Ten Hag right now, then you just need to check back and look back at what would have happened to Ten Hag. He'd have been gone months ago if Ineos were in charge. They've given him a chance, and everyone just needs to remember that when you come to slagging Ineos off. And I have slagged Ineos off. I think right now they need to make a decision based on where Manchester United are in the league. If you're going back to the summer, you could argue a defence for Ineos like I just did then, but not now for me. My mind has changed as to a point, right, this is just not acceptable as Manchester United. We cannot be 14th in the league and scoring the amount of goals and being embarrassed in Europe the way we are continuously, like under Ten Hag. So when you look at what Tuchel brings and when you look at what he has said, he understands the football club. There was a time last season when Tuchel actually answered a question for Ten Hag in his own press conference for Bayern Munich. And that's how much Thomas Tuchel knows and understands in terms of levels of playing, not playing, but managing at a high-level football club. like the expectation levels. And I think that's why. I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying that's the be-all and end-all. I'm just saying that is probably why Ineos are looking at Thomas Tuchel as the only viable option right now. Put everything out on the table. There is no one else available that's not out of work and they can get. And I think he is of that level that you would expect Manchester United to be challenging right up there. Tuchel would be a manager, I feel, that could win Man United the Premier League. That's just my opinion. A lot of you won't agree with it, I know. Some of you will. The poll as it is at the moment in terms of the United fan base, would you be happy if Tuchel became the new Manchester United manager? 54% of you have said yes, 46% of you have said no. Honestly, I get it. I do. I understand it. Everyone thinks that there's better managers there. Everyone thinks the past of Thomas Tuchel wasn't great. And are worried that it might happen again at Manchester United. Totally get it. I understand it. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just your opinion. And I sort of look past it more than anything. And I sort of look at Manchester United as a team that needs a leader or someone who can inspire. And I think what Thomas Tuchel has achieved in his career definitely puts him up there at that level where you could say he has worked with the best players on the planet. He knows about egos. He knows about expectations. He's worked with hierarchies and ownership models that are awkward and difficult to handle. We've seen that at every single club he's been at, probably apart from Dortmund. And his record stands up there. It does. I said it last night on the show. If you're second-guessing Tuchel or you're putting Tuchel down, and just remember, he came close to beating Bayern Munich in that Champions League final. He came close. He's come closer than any other manager. And there are plenty of managers that PSG have had in their time while they've had Qatari ownership that a lot of this Manchester United fan base have said they would take. So Tuchel has come closer than anybody while working for the Qatari ownership model under PSG. Let's put that there. He's made it to a final with PSG. He was one Manuel Neuer mistake away last season from getting to a final against Dortmund, which I think he would have won because they should have beat Real Madrid, but for that mistake from Neuer. Fine margins again. He's won it with Chelsea, not the best Chelsea team. Obviously beating Real Madrid and Manchester City in the process and doing that. So let's not forget that as well. And obviously he has won titles in, 2 of the 3 leagues that he's actually managed in. So he's experienced in bringing trophies in, and he has got calibre, whether you like it or not. I think he demands respect, and he commands a room. He's a great communicator, and he will deal with the media 20 times better than what Ten Hag has done. It's whether or not Ineos want to go down that road, because Tuchel has already said no. And that's the big if and but in all of this that I need to bring up. Because it's all right me bigging up Tuchel. I get that. Like I've said it before, you all know where I was with Thomas Tuchel last season. But why did he say no? And who is going to change their mind into what was discussed in the summer? Because we know the discussions were there. We know it was very close. So is it going to be Ineos that back down and offer something different? Circumstances change months down the line. Maybe Tuchel is fed up of not being in football. When you're a football man and when you have got football running through your veins like these managers have, then it's hard to stay away. And yes, you can say, I want to stay away from me. I just want to take some time out. But 4 or 5 months down the line, things change quickly. And opportunities like Manchester United are not going to come around the second time for Thomas Tuchel. It's now or never for him, I feel, because I think Ineos will get rid of Ten Hag before the season's out, even if it isn't in this international break. I think he will prove that he hasn't got what it takes, and United will be completely out of the competitions that Ineos want Manchester United to be competing in. That's just how I feel, and the patterns and the same cycle is going around that was there last season, but worse. So that's why I say Manchester United will end up relieving the duties of Ten Hag at some point this season. I just don't know where we're at right now. It's a big meeting. But just to go over everything that I said at the start of the show, if you are just joining us, welcome along, everybody. Thank you for all the likes. Keep them coming in. We have well over 800 in the room with us right now. If you have just joined us, I was told that Sir Jim Radcliffe will be ruthless. He has spoken with Ten Hag already. It doesn't matter if he is on holiday. All of the other speculation and... it's not speculation and rumours. We know that there is a board meeting today. Everyone's reporting it. Directors will be meeting in London. Ten Hag will be discussed. And a decision will be out in the public domain today. So stay tuned. That's basically what has been said and what is being reported. Tuchel has come up onto the scene and is now favourite for the job. The Daily Mirror are saying that Tuchel wants the job this time and he's ready to go. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. He has turned it down, which I was just talking about a minute ago before. And is that a red flag for you? That is my biggest concern in all of this. Look, I have said Tuchel's the man for me, but I don't want Tuchel in at Manchester United if someone is having to say change their sort of expectations or needs within this deal. So by that I mean like Inos wants Tuchel in charge, it's quite clear, and they have told him what the structure will be at Manchester United and how it's going to be managed. I don't want Ineos to change their mind, and if it's not right for Tuchel, I don't want him to change his mind. Something has to give somewhere, obviously, if this is to happen. It's a bit of a concern for me. And where I like Tuchel and would have want him to come in, I want everybody to be happy and on the same page and moving forward as one. I don't want this falling apart like 8 or 9 months down the line when something is said in a transfer window, when Tuchel's not happy and he kicks off again like he's got form for. We know this. I've gone through many stories as to why it's happened at different clubs with Tuchel. But what you want is everybody to be understanding of what's expected. And I think Ineos's expectation levels of how they wanted Tuchel to work in the summer weren't good enough for Tuchel, and he said no. Where does the change come? And honestly, like getting into the chat, like where do you feel it has to change, from Ineos's side or from Tuchel's side? Should Tuchel just accept what Ineos are offering him to have this chance of working for Manchester United? I think most fans would say that was more important than anything. That Tuchel actually went, look, I cannot turn United down. I will work under the structure of Ineos. Look at the people that are working there. I mean, that's how I would want it to happen. I would want Tuchel to say, right, okay, I get it. I'm going to give my everything to your structure and taking Manchester United forward in that way within the regime and everything that's going on. I think that's the important thing in all of it. I think if Ineos start changing their plans and letting the manager have their say, I think it's only going to be one outcome. I don't think it'll work. You cannot back down at this point right now. We are being led down the merry road by Erik Ten Hag right now. I actually do believe he is taking the piss out of the football club. Just in my opinion, again, like the things he's saying and what he feels and expects people to think and how long he thinks he's going to get are ridiculous in my opinion. Judge us in May. It's not, do you know what I mean? Judge us in May. Like, no, you're not going to get this time. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get this opportunity again. You cannot keep saying these things. And you've just got to look at what's actually happening right now and what he's saying. And I do think that he is taking the mick a little bit. I'm going to come into the chat now and get your opinions on all of this. I can see some of you completely disagreeing with me. I'm going to get into all of the opinions, try and broaden it out and bring a balanced argument to this. I'm losing all respect for the business side of the club. Sack the manager, then talk all the time. It is out in the public domain. And Erik Ten Hag has a job. We look weak, says Mark Lambridge with that super chat. Let's scroll up and get a few more of these comments in here. If he was that good, he would be in a job now and in demand. Who else? He's not in a job right now because he fell out with the hierarchy at Bayern Munich. By the way, Bayern Munich wanted him back, and he said no. So take from that what you want. Officially, if you're going off the club aspect of it, he should be in a job, but he turned Bayern Munich down after the way he was treated and what was said. He's a man of principles and someone who doesn't go back on his decision, which is probably important for Manchester United, to be honest. So, yes. By the way, in terms of what was said in terms of Tuchel turning Manchester United down, that came from the German media earlier on, about 2 months ago. Actually, no, probably about a month and a half ago, we were reporting on that Tuchel turned Manchester United down. That came from the German media saying that. And it was reported quite widespread. And it wasn't actually declined, or it wasn't actually reported that was false. So we're going with that at the moment as where things stand with Tuchel turning United down. But I feel like there had to have been something. If you're talking about Manchester United and you haven't got a job, and that's the offer on the table for you, something had to have not been right for Thomas Tuchel. And I feel like just coming off the back of what happened at Bayern Munich and that being so raw and the emotion from that breakdown with the powers that be at Bayern Munich. I feel like Tuchel has just looked after his own interests there and not jumped right in at Manchester United. So I feel like that's got a lot to do with it. But, hey. Sacked at PSG, but not mentioning that. I did mention it. Love United, hate the Glazers. I just did. I was talking about what happened at other clubs. I'm talking about him actually being PSG manager and getting the best out of that PSG side while the Qataris take over. I've done many shows before explaining why he was let go by PSG. If you want me to go into detail on it and the fallout with Leonardo, the director of football, we can go into detail. But that's by the by now. Look at what he's won. Look at the good things. If you want to look at the negatives, go for it. Maybe this is where United's fan base is actually at right now. Everything that we look at is a negative. I'm guilty of it. I can't help it. Standards have dropped. I'm just fighting that standards side of things and that argument constantly because I'm not accepting it. That's just me. And that's why I bring up everyone else's opinions in this. Red Army Reaction says, Tuchel went through a terrible divorce with his missus. He's a great coach and he'll produce his best work for us. Not sure if that is relevant regarding his missus and what happens behind the scene, but obviously personal circumstances come into any sort of situation. And you look at Ten Hag and him having his holiday disrupted in the summer and everything. Like, managers' personal times and what happens behind the scenes is a big part of what they do in their jobs as well. Marty MUFC, Tuchel will do for now is better than Ten Hag. We can always sack him as well in a couple of seasons. See, that's what you don't want. So see, this is again like, I'm not saying that Marty's wrong in that. There is a big part of what Marty says there that a lot of United fans will agree with. That this could just be the new fresh cycle again. Another 2 years, same scenario. Well, it is different because he has got pedigree. It is different because it's a different ownership model. And I feel like this is the man that Inos wanted to start their regime with anyway. And I feel like the players would probably respect Tuchel more. I think he definitely has adaptability in his formations. He's played fours at the back. He's played threes at the back. He's worked with quality players. There's a lot of positives with Thomas Tuchel, as well as the obvious negatives as well. Trying to balance it out and find a good comment about him. I like Tuchel. But can he rebuild a broken club without having total authority? And what does a manager need? Players. That's what he needs. He has got players on tap at Manchester United. He will go to Inos in the summer and have input into what type of player he wants and how it will work. And that, I feel, is what is being discussed and why things might break down. The big issue with Leonardo was that players were being sold and not replaced. Players' contracts were being run down and we're not getting decent value for them players at PSG because the contracts were running out and they didn't have enough money to then reinvest back in to bring replacements in. And I think he said that in public and Leonardo spat his dummy out and floated him, basically. Sack him in a couple of seasons. Are you mad? So now we want to just bring in another manager because you don't want Erik Ten Hag and we just sack him and get another manager. Have a word with yourself. I don't think that was based at me, Gavin, was it? Because I did sort of like bring that up as well. People seem to forget that the English Premier League landscape has massively changed since Fergie retired. Far more clubs have the resources to compete now. United still spend badly. Xerxes, De Ligt, Agate aren't great. No top managers seem interested in taking on this squad. Who would blame any of them? I mean, Ivan, it's who is available and who can, I think you have to bring into it as well. We can't ignore that there's a lot of managers out there that have got jobs already, and we like them managers. They don't really want to move from where they are. Like, they will look at Manchester United right now and they will go, look at what's happened to every single manager that's come in after Sir Alex Ferguson. No one has left in glowing terms. No one has left with winning anything substantial or to the standards that the club would expect or what the footballing landscape expects Manchester United to actually achieve. So as a manager, you've got to look at Manchester United and have worries and concerns right now. It is a bit chaotic. And I feel like we're in a position now where we have to sort of just... We've exhausted everything, haven't we? We've exhausted all of the major managers. We've brought in managers that we thought with the big names and reputations would work. We've brought in club legends. We've brought in everything we possibly can. The new up-and-coming manager, who was Ten Hag from Ajax. We all wanted him at the time as well. And it just doesn't work. It just didn't work. And it isn't working now. But the one thing you cannot forget is the failings that Manchester United are going through, and the levels that we're at right now are just unacceptable. And something has to happen because of that. Every other big club on the planet, you only have to look at the amount of managers over the last 10 years that the big clubs have had. Say the Real Madrid, Bayern Munich's, Barcelona's, PSG's. Look how many managers they've had compared to Manchester United. And they're all still successful. They're all competing at the highest level. United are not. And I don't know why people are forgetting where Manchester United actually should be. And maybe it is because, like I said before, like the generational thing, some fans have just not seen any success at Manchester United and feel like this is the norm and we shouldn't be moaning about it. Ball knowledge aside, Tuchel got testicles and aura. He does have an aura, I will say that. I've sat down in a press conference with Tuchel. He commands the room. He definitely communicates very, very well. And I'm hoping that that is what is needed at Manchester United with this team and this squad. There is someone out there, manager-wise, that can get something out of this Manchester United team. It is a good squad, and it should be a lot better placed than where it is right now. Brian says, it will be different because he has a pedigree. Did Jose not have a pedigree? He won 2 trophies and fell out with Ed Woodward. Jose Mourinho, effectively, should still be at Manchester United. Jose Mourinho came in first season, got 2 trophies, and qualified for the Champions League the next season by finishing second against the tough City side with plus 80 points in 2 seasons. So yeah, Jose Mourinho was successful at Manchester United, and then it all went wrong because of a fallout, player power, Ed Woodward backing players over the manager, whereas Erik Ten Hag has had the complete opposite. So Jose Mourinho was given the worst rap, I feel, out of all of the managers in what happened at Manchester United. That was at the height of player power FC. Them days, I feel, are going now, and it is changing. Obviously, too much water's gone under the bridge. Tuchel does have pedigree. I don't care what anybody says. If you want to get rid of player power, Tuchel is definitely the right man. Michelle, good point on that one. He won't stand for any nonsense. He will command that dressing room. Stuart with a super chat. Thank you, Stuart. We've only had 2 successful managers. In between that, we've rolled the dice on average managers until we got it right. It happens. Erik Ten Hag is failing. It does. It happens in every walk of life. Some people just don't succeed in their jobs, and they have to be moved on. There are more people. There are more things in the picture here than just Ten Hag and his job. Like, look at the staff. Look at the coaches. Look at the players. Look at the reputations of the board members and everything. There is so much riding on Ten Hag getting it right with this team, and it's failing. And sometimes big decisions need to be made. And I think a big decision will be made. I just feel like it's not going to be this transfer. I don't think it's going to be this international break. I think they'll make a mistake and he'll be gone later on in the season, personally, is where I'm at. And whether Tuchel will wait that long, or maybe it'll just say, look, we're going to just see out this period and he's going to go at this point. I don't think you can mess around with Thomas Tuchel, which is why I think he's the only option now. And if Tuchel doesn't come into United at this period, I think Tuchel's off the table, personally. Because United want him. They wanted Tuchel in the summer. It happens now, or it doesn't, I feel. And that's sort of where I think we're at with the whole scenario now, with getting rid of Ten Hag and bringing in another manager. Anonymous says, Ten Hag probably one of the worst now. With the money he spent, maybe after Moyes, time is up for Erik Ten Hag. Mourinho prob, the only one that deserved more time. I think Van Gaal deserved more. Like finishing 5th and getting an FA Cup and then being sacked the day after. Oh, that was brutal and probably deserved more, Ten Hag. Van Gaal. I think he definitely got I think he got Woodwardified, and so did Jose Mourinho. Their managers back then, they were definitely Woodwardified. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was as well. I just don't think Ole was big enough to fight his corner when it came to dealing with the powers that be at Manchester United. A quick update on everything else. We will bring you all of the news as it happens, with anything breaking out of Manchester United regarding Ten Hag. I have got the school run to do, so I am going to quickly. But Manchester United's first time in 40 plus years that no Manchester United player is in that England squad. How bad is that? Maguire is injured, obviously. Kobbie Mainoo is injured. Garnacho is injured, and Mazraoui is injured. They're not thought to be massively serious injuries. In fact, Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho is being reported are still in contention to be available for the Brentford game after the international break. But indeed, that is it for this morning update show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm off to do the school run. Needs must. It's raining. The traffic's probably going to be crap, so I'm going to have to get a good start. Thanks for joining the live show, everybody. Absolutely loving all of your super chats, comments in the chat there. Please do comment below. I'll try and get back to as many as I possibly can throughout the day. I know it's a shorter live stream this morning, but yes, we need to get out and about. I will see you all later on with all of the updates coming out from what's happening from this meeting today. Thanks, everybody. See you later.